Hello, my name is Shazeb Suhail, and I'm going to be going over my milestone cloud test project. It is called Blogging Site, and let's get started. So, on our agenda, we have to cover app features, implementation strategy. We'll go through a software demo, then we'll talk about app limitations like pending issues or whatnot, and then future ideas. We'll close it with like, what do we expect to do with this app moving forward? So app features, this is a Java Spring Boot with a MySQL database project. It could work with the SQL Server as well. I have it configured to either MySQL or SQL Server. So app features, we wanted a user and login system going on to differentiate users creating blog posts and comments. So once you register and you log in, you go to the home page where a list of uh, already posted blogs will exist, and then you can go into the create section where you could create your own blog that other people could then view on the homepage and click on, read some comments, post comments, and whatnot. Here we have our GitHub repository. If I go there, you can see that it is a public place. This is the DDL script. If you're using MySQL, if you're using SQL Server, go ahead and use this one here. I would also just check out application properties and maybe set up some environment variables, or you could open up localhost and just use that instead. If you're going to use SQL Server, just use this part right here and do some POM updates to where you actually use this dependency and you'll comment out MySQL and vice versa. Moving on to the implementation strategy, we decided to go with a CI/CD build pipeline. Our whole strategy was just to continuously implement and continuously deploy as new features came in. So it was split into like five different, I want to say, like periods of development that we had. So the first part was just getting up the base project setup. This was, getting used to the technology again, just familiar, getting refreshers on it, and then creating a 5-page routes so we could, navigate across the website and make sure that's all working. Once that was done, we had to move into creating data models, and we ended up using 7 total, which are used to describe backend objects as well as front-end user inputs. And with the user inputs, we got in user interface form inputs going on the pages, such as login form, blog form, and comment form. Then once I had this basic structure on the front end going, I created a database service to finally, connect to the database and persist data. And that's where all our SQL queries are written and database interaction is supposed to happen. And then once that was all good, back end, front end, we deployed to the cloud. We deployed to Azure, AWS, Heroku, and we like Heroku the best because it's very simple to use and it was easy to set up a build pipeline. And lastly, integrating DevOps, we closed that off with implementing application logs and uptime just to make sure that if the app does go down while it's deployed live, that we are notified so we can react to it quicker. And so there was just kind of like 5 stages of development that we followed. Here's the sitemap. You can see that the landing page is just log in or sign up. You go to the sign up page, then you land on the home page, and from the home page you get access to viewing blogs, where you can also comment on blogs, and you get access to the create your own blog page. Here's our UML diagram. You can see our 7 models here. Um, Anything that has form represents a user interface object, so like register form, login form, blog form, comment form, and blogger, blog, and comment are like our concrete backend objects. We have our application, which just runs the Spring Boot app. We have our root controller, which requires a database service to be operable because we are using a SQL database. Now moving on to our ER diagram. We have the bloggers table, a blogs table, and a comments table. So the bloggers can have written as many blogs as they like, and blogs can have as many comments as it likes. But a comment can only belong to one blogger, and a comment can only belong to one blog. So here's a high-level architecture view. So the purple area represents the Heroku cloud. So on the Heroku cloud exists a SQL database which we'll be using. Then we have our deployed app which will run. And on the external tools, we have Logly for application logs and Uptime Robot to be alerted if our website does go down. And basically, the end user uses a web browser to connect to the cloud IP address of our application. And this is how it works. Moving on to our software demo, I have a screenshot of our landing page, which we'll navigate to. And ideally, what will happen is users will land on this page. They'll go to sign up. They could just type in any old name like Ty. And you can see we now have logged in. And these three ellipses are pretty much supposed to mean that like there's more. You just have to click read more. You can see that there's telling you how many comments are on there. And these are written by different users as well. So if I just go to this comment, you can see I get the full picture. And then, you could leave different comments with indentations. If I try comment, does this work? Scroll back down, you can see that it does indeed work. If I go to create page, and I was just supposed to type something, you can see that it does appear here. To log out, we would just go back to the login page, and we would just use a login that doesn't work, and that logs you out. If I go back to homepage, you can see that I'm not logged in and I won't be able to create blogs anymore either. One thing I wanted to point out is that if you did know what blog it was, so like let's say I wanted to share with somebody, you could share the link, but they just would not be able to comment. And yeah. So heading back to presentation, some of the app limitations is that concurrent user sessions. So the app's current version only works with one person logged in. For some reason, the deployed version it can't differentiate because it's just one place that's being manipulated, I guess. And so it's not like that is being distributed across everybody's screen as its own like instance. And so that's why there's no way to handle concurrent users. So I would have to figure out why that's happening. And I did not expect that to happen, which is interesting to me. Oh, to go back real quickly. We also don't have an edit or delete blogs button. Pretty much every like post, I guess early on, I just wanted to keep it there. Kind of like if you post something, like it's gonna be there, so be careful what you post or whatever. But we could use an edit and delete button, and I would definitely implement that for future. And bookmark section, this was an app limitation because it kind of fell out of scope. It became like a low priority user story because, like for example, the edit and delete blogs were kind of more important than a bookmark section. But yep. So for future ideas, we want to maybe set up user notifications. So if somebody commented on your page, you could be notified. So you could go check your post. And another thing is adding photo, GIFs, and videos. So one method I've used before is just allowing people to input URL strings, which will just display the image on our page. And so I find that pretty good without having to save photos and videos on our server. And then we have friend connections, like if there's multiple bloggers, they should be able to connect as friends. And then private messaging between bloggers and eventually keyword and hashtag, so maybe like a search filter to look for specific type of content. And then since anybody could post anything, like maybe I could create like a reporting system if multiple people report a blog. it would indicate that this is probably inappropriate, and maybe it'll just kind of like delete it on its own or something. But yeah, that's kind of it for this, and thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.